All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Schroeder, and welcome back to Waldmann's Musical Menagerie. It's Sunday again at 7 o'clock. This is the fourth installment of this series, and as you know, we're just trying to keep the ball rolling with all the wonderful musicians that have been coming to Waldmann over the past nearly 3 years. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with the group that we have tonight. Dunquin, it's Don and Sherry Laddick and Rosa Wells. And Don and Sherry, I've been watching you guys perform for, I don't want to date any of us, but well over 20 years.
Oh yeah.
I can remember the first time you delighted me with your music in David Christofferson's barn when I was first completed a few blocks away from here. Rosa's been performing with them as well under the name of New Pearl Buttons here at Waldmann. They play a wide variety of music, but we're still technically in St. Patrick's Day season. And they wanted to appear on their second guise as Dunquin, concentrating on Irish and traditional folk music. So really delighted to have you all here tonight.
Thanks, Tom.
As usual, I'm going to interrupt incessantly. Well, hopefully not incessantly, but I do want to keep you up to date on what's happening here at the brewery and some of the great new beers we've released, as well as just to let you know how our employees and staff are doing, and more than anything else, just how incredibly grateful we all are for the support you've continued to show us. So enough of me. On to Dunquin.
Okay.
Sherry, Don, Rosa, take it away.
Thank you. And Don, you were going to say something about our St. Patrick's season and how it started and how it ends.
Yeah, the only gig we got to do this year was March 1st here on a Sunday, playing for a packed room, I have to say, totally packed room, on March 1st, playing our new St. Patty's set, some really old stuff, some very new stuff. And then everything got shut down. So here we are back at Waldmann's a month plus a few days later, doing the same set more or less to bracket our part of the month.
So let's play some jigs. The Woodiecock, the Montana jig, which we also call the whoop bomb jig, and you'll know why when you hear it, and the swallowtail. So we play a lot of dance music. So we're playing a lot of music for our friends in the neighborhood, like Mary Bishop and Teresa McCormick and all those folks that come out to play, hear us play while we play for the dancers. We get a lot of energy back from them. We're going to play the Drunken Tinker, and then we're going to get sort of nautical and go to the Eel in the Sink and the Crib of Perches. We're going to play
The
some.
names of Irish tunes are like, they're just wonderful. They're cranky, eccentric, unsurprising, shocking sometimes.
Whatever you saw when you were thinking up the tune is usually what the tune gets named.
You know, and I thought it was bad to find a centipede in the sink, but an eel.
Oh, well, you probably won't find one unless you're maritime. Unless you're some, yeah, well, yeah, I'm sorry, I feel sorry for centipedes. I helped them out of the sink. They eat a lot of other things that I don't want around, so I'll write the centipede in the sink one of these days.
I objurgate the centipede. He is a creature we do not need. Ogden Nash, but
Oh,
anyway.
Nash, okay.
But I digress. You go ahead.
Okay, the Drunken Tinker. We can imagine you. Oh, polkas just want to have fun. If we had a band bumper sticker, it would say polkas just want to have fun. We like to play a lot of the polkas from the County Kerry and Sligo area. They love their polkas. So I'm going to pretend to be a drum for just a little bit, and then we're going to play the Grand Old Dame, which is also called the cheese polka for some reason, and then the Cheshire Brawl, which is spelled B-R-N-L-A. It's French, the Brawl, and then the Anaskal polka, and then Maggie in the Wood. So Here we go.
Fabulous, guys. You guys are fast.
Well, they like their polkas fast, but they're not moving all the way around the room. People are,
Yeah.
Irish people are just kind of, they're easy with their polkas. You can tell the Americans, they're bouncing all over the place and they're tired before the night's up. The Irish farmers, they're just kind of,
And sometimes Germans don't even recognize Irish polkas as polkas. They're really a thing unto themselves, but it's really true. You have to do this while you dance and not this. And if you do this, you can play it, you can dance at that speed.
Very cool. Well, and I, in my earlier comments, I neglected Rosa. And Rosa, I just want to use you as an opportunity for doing a shout out for Center for Irish Music.
Yes,
and your great
yes.
teaching there.
Yes,
You are an instructor there, correct?
I am an instructor at the Center for Irish Music, yep.
Yeah, and Irish fiddle, obviously.
Yes.
And I couldn't help but observe your bow style. It's really interesting. You hold up above from the frog. Most classical violinists would hold right at the frog.
Yeah, and I'm classically trained, so I actually, I discovered Irish music on my own, and I messed around with it on my own, and I was in college when I really started to do that more, and I was still taking private lessons at the time, and I would be in the practice room and I'd be playing fiddle tunes, and I would start experimenting with holding higher up on the bow because I saw that happening a lot in fiddle, like traditional fiddle players. And I remember I walked into one of my private lessons one day and I picked up my bow and I picked it up higher up on the stick. And my teacher said, "What are you doing?" And I was caught out. I was like, sorry. So.
Well, the Center for Irish Music, for those of you that aren't aware, is a wonderful institution here in St. Paul. They provide musical education, cultural education. They had a whole summer curriculum, which we hope can go forward this year as well. And you should also know that Brian Miller and Nora Wendell from the Center for Irish Music, and also they play a lot with Celtic Junction as well, will be performing here on Sunday, April 26th. So you'll want to mark your calendar for that date as well. And enough of that commercial.
Oh yeah, a word from our sponsor.
Drive on, drive
I've seen some
on.
Irish players hold the bow just like up in the upper third, really amazingly high.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to get technical, at some point you do cross the balance point and it gets a little difficult.
We're gonna play an air. To me, Irish airs are so beautiful. They are based on song forms. A lot of them have words. We are not going to sing tonight, but we are going to sing with our instruments. We're going to. The Hills of New Zealand has an interesting story. You know the story.
I do.
Don knows the story.
Don knows the story. Okay, you tell the story.
I know the story because I found this CD in a thrift store. It's a band that's touring all the time now, Cherished Ladies. They're flute and whistle players, Joni Madden, and when they were on tour in New Zealand and Australia, they ended in New Zealand, they ended the trip, and she couldn't find her camera, with like over 1,000 photographs of the whole tour, and it was lost. And she fretted about it, had no success trying to figure out how to find it even. And a couple of months later, it was returned to her in England, or in the Bronx, by a guy in New Zealand who went way beyond the call of duty to figure out, first of all, he broke his own shyness and actually opened up the camera to see what the photos were. And he saw this one car that was repeated over and over again. That was their band tour car. So he got the license plate of that and then sort of reverse engineered it and figured out who owned it. So this tune sounds very old. It was written just a couple of years ago, and it was a thank you to this Kiwi.
And it's called?
The Hills of New Zealand.
Okay.
that kindness was repaid 100-fold
Isn't
with
that
that
amazing?
song. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful song.
You know, I like to say that all the old tunes haven't all been written yet. There are some tunes that sound like old tunes. Anton Waldman.
It's got old spirit, though. I know what you're saying.
But
I know what you're saying,
it
Sherry.
has the feel of something that's been around for a while and was just waiting to be found.
Yeah.
A lot of tunes are found tunes.
Well, I'm going to interrupt this
Yeah.
beautiful performance for just my own thank you, actually, and the thank you for all of our staff, because your phenomenal support and continued business for Waldman in the last week has allowed us to hire back yet another
Yay.
laid-off employee. Thank you so much. We now have 2 of our laid-off staff brought back, helping with the canning line. Our sales of crowlers are 4 times what they were before the shutdown, because of course you can't drink our beer any other way. But sincerely, thank you for that. And as I continue to do home deliveries and meet each and every one of you in your homes, it's just so incredibly heartwarming, the generosity and your support. And I hope you're enjoying the food we bring you. So thank you. Back to you guys, though.
And for something completely different, this is not Irish and you'll know right away. It is French Canadian. We are playing the Woodchoppers, Walker Street, and Big John McNeil. And so, we do it like this.
Okay.
Thank
up with wooden flutes when all the rest of the world switched to silver or brass?
That is a wonderful question. It's a really wonderful question because the silver flute was invented pretty quickly around 1845 or so, and it quickly solved two problems. The halls were getting bigger. There were there were orchestral halls for the first time, and the silver flute carried better. It was louder. The other thing is, it was easier to play in tune. So this flute was made in 1838. So this was like the state of the art. This is a fully keyed, English-made, top of the line flute, but they were discarded. They were simply, I like to think they were checked out windows. I mean, they were simply eclipsed by the silver flute. So they drifted down through the social strata, and they were caught, metaphorically, by traditional players. And the wooden flute is considered absolutely a traditional Irish instrument, but they're all cast-offs from orchestral instruments of the mid to late 19th century. They don't age well, and most of them are really in poor shape, a lot of cracks. And the old guys, they love the flutes because you break the joints, put them in your soup coat, play them out. They would buy 2 pints of Guinness, one for themselves and one for their instrument. They would soak the joints in Guinness, and that would swell the wood and close the joints. And they would play without gapping, except that every time you do that, it dries a little more and a little more, so the instruments degrade over time, but short term they can play them. So the Irish players play with, they stand all the rules of orchestral flute playing on their head. You can always hear my breath, and you never want to hear the breath in an orchestral flautist. By the way, I'm not a flautist, and I'm not a flute. I am a fluter. I am a fluter.
Okay.
In Ireland, I play the flute, therefore I'm a fluter. And think of it as harpist, which sounds benign to our ears.
Fiddler.
Fiddle, fiddler, flute, fluter.
Piano.
Interesting.
Although I love the term for the Cayley pianist. They call it a piano driver.
That's because we're doing the rhythm. But when I'm not playing for dances, I do other stuff. I don't just drive.
So people had to find 19th century instruments wherever they could.
So my one follow-up is, does your flute taste like Guinness?
Oh man, it's so good that you're asking me these questions, because I got this flute about 6 or 7 years ago from a collection in Cambridge, England. And when I started blowing into it, in my warm...
And how old is it?
It's from 1838. And
Okay.
when my warm breath started to activate it, I got the strongest, not just an impression, but the strongest smell of snuff came out of this instrument. It hadn't been played for decades. It was played back in the era of snuff a lot, and it had just worked its way into the wood. And I reactivated it by I gave a kiss of life to the snuff smell. I mean, I was passing it around. Hey, smell my flute.
It's weird, but
Everything about flutes are gross. It's gone away. I know, like, it's all gone. I sort of breathed it out of existence, but it was so amazing. I felt like I had a tangible contact with the last player.
Gross's social distancing on the basis of that story alone, Donnie.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Enough of my distractions. That's a great, I love knowing that. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
We're going to move along and play some slip jigs. Everybody knows what jigs are like. Jigs are go da 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 da, bicycle. Slip jigs have an extra 3 in them, so they go da 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 da, and you feel them in 3. 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. So slip jigs. I wrote one on Groundhog Day, and I called it Groundhog Day. And then Farewell to Wally Range we got from our old fiddler Nathan Gorley. Thank you, Nathan. It's in the weird key of F sharp minor, but that's a pretty cool key. And then we go to a new tune by the great Chicago fiddler Liz Carroll called Rose and Kathleen's. And it almost has this kind of a swing feel to it, I think. So, I'm going to do a couple of chunks, and then in you go. that have a lot of repetitious little motifs, so how to end them is sometimes a bit of a conundrum. But that was Rose and Kathleen's. I really liked it because it had a bit of a swing in it. And we have now, I write a lot of waltzes. Special occasion things for people when they have birthdays or other special things coming up in their lives. I like waltzes, they're a lot of fun. I wrote this one for my sister Gloria, and I called it Gloria. Seemed like a good title. So this one goes out to my dear sister Gloria and all my family at home. Mwah. No social distance worries there. Okay.
You know, I have to say, guys, it's a luxury to be able to sit and listen to you. As you probably know, usually when you play here, I'm busily upstairs paying bills or scurrying around doing this or that, but you really are wonderful, wonderfully talented people, and I just want to thank you again for sharing your music for these last nearly 3 years at Waldmann.
Yeah.
You've got a warmth to your performance that's really, really palpable.
Thank you, and this is one of our very favorite places to play. I mean, it's not just the atmosphere, it's a combination of the warmth of the staff, the good feelings, the bonhomie, gemütlichkeit, whatever, just the good feelings.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, just the good feelings everybody has.
But an appropriate mouthful.
People come here to have a good time, and by golly, they do. They have a good time. Good food, good stuff to drink.
Well, keep it going. We've got about 20 more minutes, and I'd love to hear more.
Golly, let's do it. Well, we're going to play a pipe march, but not on pipes. A lot of 6/8 tunes are not really jigs. They're kind of slower, and they're called pipe marches because, well, you know, when you're marching along, you feel a little jauntier if somebody's playing something jaunty. So we've got Leslie's March, and Sister Jean, and Kitty McGee.
There will be pipes.
Why, there
Later.
will be pipes. We've been promised that there will be pipes. Okay, so, I'll give you a couple of bumps and in we go. Okay. in Scotland really, and then we move on to Shetland, is Sister Jean, and then we go right back to England for a really merry old England kind of rotten kitty McGee.
But before you go back to England, let me take you back to West 7th, okay?
Yes, please.
Because I'm realizing I have forgotten to mention, folks, that Dunquin is very generously offered in lieu of online or virtual tips to them, they would like the proceeds to go to our laid-off workforce, and I really appreciate that, guys.
Keep this place alive, please. We love
They
this
take
place.
great care of us here.
They take care, then they'll take great care of you too.
So if you look on your Facebook site, you'll see pinned in the comment section the GoFundMe site where you can contribute to our workforce. We've raised hundreds of dollars already, and those proceeds are greatly appreciated by them and by us. So, sorry for the interruption.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fine.
no. Yeah.
We're going to play some hornpipes, the City of Savannah, which hornpipes are for showing off your fancy footwork so they don't go too fast. And so you can be doing all sorts of things with your feet. And then Kitty's wedding. So here we go with that.
How are we doing time-wise?
You're doing great, and let me just get in one final commercial break here, folks. And this truly is a commercial, I'll admit it. But I do want to let you know about our new release this week. If you've been wondering what Tom's been drinking, what Tom is drinking is our new Weiss beer. Adam Weiss, our fabulous brewer, has produced the most wonderful Hefeweizen well in advance of the summer season, but we're all eager for summer to come, aren't we? This is a great Southern Bavarian yeasted wheat beer. It's over 50% wheat in the grain bill, all floor malted wheat. It's a fabulous beer, exclusively available for now in the tap room, going on sale in our wonderful liquor stores listed on our website this coming week. The other thing I want to mention quickly is, if you haven't checked out our menu online, folks, check it out, because our crazy genius chef, Bob Manning, has produced some wonderful new entrees, including a crafted mac and cheese with toasted pretzel bits on top, which is to die for. And just this weekend, our special was the Mittnacht. It's German street food. If you're out all night clubbing in Berlin, I understand you need a pork shoulder sandwich at the end of it, otherwise known as a Cubano in other parts of the world. So, enough of my commercial break. Thanks again for your continued support. Check out our menu out online, and take us away, folks, with the final performance.
Well, actually, we've got two if we've got time for it.
What is that noise you're making, Don?
Yeah, Don, what are you doing? What are these? There are not geese being killed in Waldmann.
These are the Scottish small pipes, and they're going to be playing a Scottish pipe march, a slow pipe march called My Hometown, and it's sort of the hit pipe tune of the moment right now. It's really nice.
A new tune.
We'll do it twice, we think. Twice, and then two straight ahead Irish reels that happen to fall into the limited range of this instrument very nicely.
Okay, let's hear ya.
Well,
Slow one.
one more slow one. All right,
Yeah,
one more
because
slow
we
one.
always end on something slow.
Let's do
You
that.
can just do pretty girls.
Let's just do the pretty girl. The pretty girl milking her cow would probably not sound like such a great thing, but I think the guy who wrote this really loved that pretty girl milking her cow.
Look out.
I'll start, you can try.
Thank you, everybody. It's been lovely to be with you.
Thank you, Dunquin.
Thank you, Tom.
Really, it's been a pleasure having you.
It's been wonderful to be here.
Folks, remember, we'll be back. We're going to take a break for Easter this weekend, but on April 19th, we're very pleased to have David and Suzanne Reese playing as Bundle and Go, presenting music of the First Nation Métis people of Canada. It's going to be a wonderful performance of some phenomenal historical music. And after that, as I mentioned, Brian Miller and Nora Rendell will be playing on April 26th, more Irish traditional folk. Which leads me to one final thought, which is few nations on earth have had as much hardship as the country from which this music emanated. So we can keep our spirits up. There's more beauty of this nature to come. Have a great week.
Thanks a lot, folks. Good night.